more support you got, the more we can perform a Harrop curl. All 3 points of contact as we're further away our hips are from our feet, the more hamstring work it's gonna be. What's good, fam? It's Marty here. So for today's video, I'll be giving you 3 exercises that you can do to really fire up those hamstrings. Hamstrings are kind of neglected, especially when we start our strength and mobility journey, mainly because it's not the most common exercise that we see in the gym or when we see through our social media. Hamstrings are usually neglected, but it is so crucial to be working on them for our posterior chain and mitigating lower back pain if you experience that. But before we go any further, we are running a free workshop class for the month of July 2024. Make sure you check out the link on the description below on how you can register for that free workshop class and get access to it, where we will be touching up on what we're doing here, but delving into it a little bit deeper, specifically how to bend and don't break, focusing on your hips and your lower back. Okay, so before we begin, grab yourself a dowel. One of the 3 exercises I want to go through is the hip hinge, and a dowel is going to really help us establish good form. So from here, let's put the dowel onto our back. We want to maintain contact, I'll get onto the ground first, with the back of our head, our upper back, and our lower back. We maintain contact with the dowel the whole time. From here, up to you, hip width distance apart, a little bit wider. You pick your stance. See if you can keep your knees as straight as you can. You want to hinge forward at the hips, maintaining contact with the dowel the whole time, all right? So the second you start to lose contact with one body part, we're rounding up our back too much, taking the focus away from our hamstrings, and we're just really flexing our spine there. So make sure you keep all 3 points of contact as we're hinging forward. We hinge forward. As we come up, we press our feet and heels into the ground, squeezing the glutes as we come back up. Let's do this about 10 times. Maintaining that contact with the dowel for 1. Go down to your lowest point, maintaining good form. For 3. For 4, you should really be feeling this in your hamstrings. If not, maybe you need to straighten out your knees a little bit more. For 5, for 6, maintaining that straight back. For 7, for 8, squeeze the glutes at the top. For 9, and 10, and up. All right, let's put that dowel aside. Next one, this is where we're gonna need our couch. I'll give you a regression first, especially if you're just beginning, not sure where to start. We always go with the regression. So this is the first one we begin with. Let's have our upper back onto the couch. And from here, we walk our feet out a little bit further. See if you can get your feet away from underneath your knees. The further your feet are away from your knees, the more hamstring work it's gonna be a little bit more difficult. But that's why, find out where you're at, where you can maintain stability and maintain good form. From here, tail slightly tucked, core strong. We sink our hips down, squeeze our glutes as we get to the top. Now, like I said, better to have your feet a little bit forward to work on those hamstrings specifically. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, maybe you go with one leg, maintaining your hips and chest level. You don't want to drop one side. Now another progression to that is we elevate the feet back onto the ground. And same thing, the further our hips this time are away, or the further away our hips are from our feet, the more hamstring work it's gonna be. Keep those hips square, press the heels down, squeeze the glutes, bring the hips up and come down. You hold for about a count at the top and then come down. Let's do this same thing about 10 times for 1 and down. With control, keeping the hips square. You can have the hands by the side for a little bit more support. For 4, the straighter your legs are, the more hamstring work this is gonna be. For 6, 7, for 8, for 9, and 10. All right, I can really feel the hamstrings working there. Now this one's gonna be a little bit more difficult, and very important that we have a couch or at least someone holding our feet down. It's gonna be very important to have a couch that doesn't have too much space. Basically, you want a couch to be able to, heavy enough to weigh your feet down or your calves down. Now, if the gap is too heavy and our feet comes up, it's not gonna work. In that case, we want someone to hold your feet down. Knees are gonna be about hip width distance apart. Also very important to have something underneath your knees to make the surface a little bit softer if it's gonna be a bit too much for the knees. Now, I'm gonna show you from the side a little bit more, before we begin. You wanna keep your hips over your knees as we do this. So I'll show you the movement. I'm shoving my feet right underneath the couch. It's heavy enough to keep my feet down. I keep my back straight, hips over my knees. As I hinge forward, you'll feel this in the calves and the hamstrings and your core as you come back up. Now, if that one's a little bit too difficult for you, this is where you're gonna need to elevate the platform in front of you a little bit more, either with pillows or either with a table just in front of you. If this is a little bit too difficult to do without the hands, you keep the hips over your knees, hands in front of you, controlling the weight down, and slight push to come back up. Very important to keep those hips over the knees. Now, if you find that you're not feeling this at all in the hamstrings or the calves, it might be because you're doing something like this. You're just sending your hips back, almost sitting onto your calves. This is why I always say very important to keep those hips over the knees. And if it's too difficult, we have something in front of us like a pillow or a small bench to help us come up and down. Might be a bit difficult to do 10 of these, but do as much as you can. I'm gonna do 10. If you can do 5, you do that many, but we just wanna maintain good form the whole time. Don't be afraid to use your hands for a little bit of guidance as we do this. And very important to really shove your feet underneath the couch to hold you steady if you do not have someone to hold you down. Here's 5. If you're using a couch to hold you down, your feet will also be working here. For 7, for 8, and this is going to require some core work too. For 9, and for 10. All right, fam, let's go through that one more time together. It's important that we do this about 3 or maybe 5 times to really get your body used to these patterns. Okay, I'm not gonna use the dowel this time, but remember, if you find that you're rounding out your upper back as you hinge forward, keep the knees straight and keep that dowel to keep your back honest and straight. Remember, 10 times like this. Here's 2 and 3. Here's 4, for 5, 6, slowly and controlled, 7, 8. We never really want to rush through any strength practice or mobility practice. Okay, that's 10. All right, I'm gonna go down onto the ground for some glute bridges. And remember, the straighter your legs are, further the hips are away from the feet, the more hamstring work we're gonna get, and that's what we're aiming for. So we tuck our tail, core strong, hips are level, press the heels into the couch, or whatever you're resting your heels on. Have your hands by the side, if that's gonna help give you a little bit of a support. For 4, 5, hold at the top for about a second or so. For 6, 7, 8, for 9, and 10. Really feeling it in the hammies there. I'm gonna shove my feet right underneath the couch. The further support you have going towards your knees, the more doable this is gonna be. The less support, it's gonna be quite hard to do. I mean, I was doing this actually up with my toes just up against the wall, but I couldn't go too far because there wasn't enough support to stop my feet from going upwards. So the more support you got, the more we can perform a Harrop curl like this. For 2, for 3. And remember to use your hands if it's a little bit too difficult without, for 4. For 5. But as much as you can, we want to use our hamstrings for 6 to bring ourselves up. For 7. 8. For 9. Whoo. And for 10. Okay, fam, that is the 3 exercises that I highly suggest that you do to work on firing up those hamstrings. Maybe you can do this for 1 more round, or if you got time, you do it 5 sets throughout a session. If you really did like this video, do make sure that you register for our upcoming free workshop class for the month of July. Specifically, we'll be going through the foundations of strengthening your hips and your lower back, and going through not just strength but flexibility too. The workshop's called Bend Don't Break. I highly suggest, if you do not know where to begin with a strength and mobility practice, this is one workshop that you need to begin with. Thanks again for watching. As I said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Let your friends know about it. Show this video to everybody who you feel can benefit. Until then, have a great day. See you later.